I thought I'd destroyed the tapes. I thought the town that never was would stay in the past. I thought the copy on the doorstep was the last of it. But this morning, I found a new photograph on my desk. I didn't take it. In it, I was asleep, and behind me stood a man in a dark coat. He was holding up 3 fingers. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew this wasn't the first time I'd seen that face. I still couldn't forget that night in the cave, when Derek Vance smiled and said, "I'm just the cook." I still heard the voice of that girl who called herself the Silence. I still saw my own face on the doorstep of my house. It was smiling. It said, "I got out. You stayed." And I still didn't know which one of us was real. Then there was the town that wasn't on any map, the town that vanished overnight, and the man in the dark coat, standing in every frame. He was watching me. He was waiting, and now he'd found me again. It started with a phone call from a search and rescue team. They'd found a group of hikers who'd been missing in the White Mountains for 3 days. All were alive, but none could explain what happened. The team leader said, they had cameras. On every nighttime shot, there's someone standing behind them. Someone who wasn't there when they pressed the shutter. I drove up that same night. I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I'd seen this man before. In the cave. On the tapes. On the doorstep. He always showed up where I wasn't supposed to be. The hikers sat in a motel room, wrapped in blankets, staring at the walls. None of them spoke. The team leader handed me a memory card. The first photos were normal. Daytime shots of trails, smiling faces around a campfire. But then I scrolled to the ones taken after 2 a.m. In every single one, a figure stood in the background. Not close enough to touch. Not far enough to ignore. Always at the edge of the frame. Always in that same dark coat. I zoomed in on the face. It was blurred. Just like William Harper's face on those old film reels. I asked one of the hikers about the figure. She started crying. We never saw anyone. We checked the tent, the perimeter. There was nobody there. But when we looked at the photos in the morning, he was always there, watching. The team leader lowered his voice. On the last night, one of them woke up. She heard footsteps outside the tent. She looked out, nothing. But her camera was lying open on the ground. The shot counter had gone up by 12. She never took them. I asked to see those photos. They were taken from inside the tent. In every one, the hikers were asleep. And behind each sleeping body, in the shadows, stood the same man in the dark coat. In the last photo, he was looking straight into the lens. He was holding up 1 finger, like he was counting. I remembered Derek Vance's journal. There was a line. They only appear when you sleep, when you're vulnerable. They're not just watching. They're memorizing your face. I took the memory card back to my office. For hours, I analyzed the images. On the tent wall, reflected in the shadows, I noticed symbols. Faint. The same ones as in the cave where Derek Vance made his deal. The same ones as in the real Mark's journal. And the same ones on the tapes from the town that never was. The Silence wasn't just stalking people. It was cataloging them, collecting them, like exhibits, like evidence, like memories no one was supposed to keep. But I remembered, and that made me next. I called the motel. I asked if anyone in the group had lost a personal item. The woman who'd woken up in the middle of the night said, "My hair clip. My daughter gave it to me. I left it in the tent. It was gone in the morning." It was a marker, just like Derek left items of his victims in the freezer. Just like the man in the dark coat left traces on the tapes. I told her to leave the motel immediately. But when I arrived an hour later, the room was empty. The hikers were gone. All of them. The only thing left was a photo on the nightstand. In it, the woman was asleep. And behind her, in the shadows of the room, stood the man in the dark coat. Now he was holding up 2 fingers. He was counting down. I called the state police. But deep down, I knew the truth. They weren't missing. They'd been collected. Just like the town. Just like Derek. Just like my brother Mike. The Silence was building an archive. A collection of faces and memories. And I was next on the list. That night, I couldn't sleep. I set up a camera in my bedroom, aimed at the bed. I left it running until morning. In the morning, I reviewed the footage. Nothing. No figure. I almost felt relief. Then I checked the shot counter. It had gone up by 1. The last image was a close-up of my face. I was asleep, and behind me, reflected in the window, stood the man in the dark coat. He was holding up 3 fingers, and he was smiling. I hadn't just been added to the archive. I'd been marked. I had 3 nights left. I sit in the darkness, staring at that photo, and I realize this isn't my first encounter with the silence. I'd already seen this man in the cave where the cannibal made his deal. I'd seen him in the eyes of the girl who spoke like a monster. I'd seen him on the tapes from the town that never was. And I'd seen him on the doorstep of my own home, where my copy stood smiling. He'd always been there. I just didn't want to see it. Now I know the silence doesn't just take people. It collects them. It stores them. It waits. And it knows I remember. Because memory is the only thing that makes us real. And as long as I remember, it exists. It will always exist. If this recording is ever found, I hope someone remembers this story. Maybe the truth survives only when people remember it. If you're hearing this, don't let it disappear. I don't know if I'll see tomorrow morning, but if you're still here, thank you for remembering. And if you think I made the right choice that night when I didn't destroy those tapes, let this story leave its mark. Because one day someone will find this recording, and then the silence will return. It always returns. But now I know what to do. I know I have to find it first. And I know where it's hiding. In the next episode, I'll tell you what I found in the basement of that abandoned house. But that's a story for another time. And it's waiting for you.